Peace be with you, everyone. I'm Theurgist 1999, and in observance of Holy Week and Easter, I'm going to be doing an 8-part series on my channel focused on the D&D Cleric class and the concept of faith. First up, we're going to be reviewing some religious and spiritual themed subclasses. Some of these are going to be official, some of them are my own homebrew, and one of them is Unearthed Arcana. First up is what I call the Holy Smith Artificer. Now, I'm going to admit that this is one that I'm pretty uncertain of. Don't think it turned out too great, but I'd still like some feedback on it. They're dedicated to various gods of the Forge, such as Hephaestus. I base them heavily on Forge Cleric with a bit of Eldritch Knight. These guys are able to create holy armor and weapons in order to aid them in a fight, and they can also create holy defenders to battle alongside the party. For Barbarian, we're going to go for Path of the Zealot Barbarian from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. They channel the wrath of gods in battle, and this makes them able to keep coming even when their enemies strike them down. Anger be now your song, immortal one. Achilles' anger, doomed and ruinous, that caused the Achaeans loss on bitter loss, and crowded brave souls into the undergloom, leaving so many dead men, carrion for dogs and birds, and the will of Zeus was done. That's the opening of the Iliad, by the way. So at level 1, it becomes easier to resurrect them. They get legendary resistances, and eventually can be sustained by their rage itself after death. Oh, by the way, Ancestral Guardian could also work really well here for a religion that incorporates some form of ancestor worship. Now to think about it, Totem Warrior also fits, with nature spirits and all that working in you and through you. And if the party is devoted to a Tempest god, then Storm Herald is great. And, it's interesting because we often think about Barbarians as just being like, the Blood and Wrath class, but a lot of these paths have some deeply spiritual components to them. Don't be afraid to get into that deep roleplay just because it's Barbarian. Okay, next up for Bard, College of the Choir homebrew. So these are bards who specialize in singing praises to the divine, and this will give them access to the Cleric spell list. Because they study angelic songs, they also learn the celestial language. Guess that's Latin, right? Then at level 6, their musical aid defends their allies against necrotic damage and makes their songs even stronger. Then at level 14, they gain the power to charm creatures with their magic. Next we have Cleric. Now for Druid, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's Circle of the Stars. And rather than draw on the powers of heaven, like some of these other ones, they draw on the power of the heavens. This is going a bit more in a different direction with spirituality, of focusing more on the power of astrology. So these guys study the stars in order to prophesize. At level 2, they can use their wild magic to shape stars around them to grant them power. At level 6, they can make a sort of astrological reading to guide them. Then at level 12 and 18, their constellational powers become stronger and help to defend them. Now for Fighter, I reworked the Eldritch Knight into Crusader. This is actually probably my favorite subclass that I've come up with, to be honest. They follow the same basic rules for spellcasting as Eldritch Knight, except that they draw from the Cleric list, are wisdom-based, and their main schools are divination and evocation. The way I see that working is that their power grants them sort of an otherworldly understanding of battle and a greater strength to fight. Rather than an arcane weapon bond, they bless a weapon to make it holy. They can't teleport it to themselves, but they can locate it easily, and then they can also expend a spell slot to smite their foes with it. As they level up, they can attack when they heal, use their weapons to defend their allies, and at 18, can enter an angelic form in combat. As for the monks, well, most monks are intrinsically religious in some way, but I think Way of Mercy is the most clerical. They have an understanding of medicine and can heal their allies. This connection on a material and spiritual level also grants them access to forces of healing. Now, what's interesting is that they can also sort of take advantage of this process to use it in reverse, to cut down their enemies, by tapping into their spirit forces. Then, at 17th level, they become so powerful that they can snatch the soul of the recently deceased, placing it back into their bodies and repair physical injuries. Yeah, they can just raise the dead using the power of their hands. Pretty cool. Now, Paladins are in a pretty much the same boat as monks, because, they're intrinsically religious, but I very carefully read through all the subclasses and decided Oh, devotion. Yeah, we're doing devotion for this. So they are dedicated to the principles of accountability and honesty. Their channel divinity lets them bless a weapon or to just chase away the wicked. At level 7, they can exude an aura that bolsters their allies' resolve. Then at 15th level, they're naturally defended against otherworldly creatures. At level 7, they can exude an aura that bolsters their allies' resolve. At level 15, they are naturally defended against otherworldly creatures. Then at level 20, they can unleash an aura so pure that it burns like the sun. For Ranger, went back to that more spiritualist route with the Fey Wanderer. They serve as a sort of natural connection between Fey spirits and mortal beings. At level 3, they can channel these Fey energies into attacks to make themselves stronger. Their connection makes them better communicators and can tack on their wisdom mods to charisma checks. At level 7, they can resist being charmed or frightened and can pretty much just Uno reverse such an effect if they or an ally succeed on their checks. And then at level 11, they can summon the Fae to back them up. And at level 15, they can warp around really easily. Now for Rogue. I didn't just want to repaint the Arcane Trickster. For one thing, Clerics don't really have a cantrip that I can drop in for Mage Hand that fits there. So instead, I went in a very different direction with the Occult Acolyte archetype. These rogues practice a religion that, for whatever reason, is just not welcomed by mainstream society. They get 1/3 caster access to the Cleric spell list and can ritual cast. Now, this secretness has forced them to learn how to blend subtlety into their service. At level 3, their somatic and verbal components can be done without detection. At level 9, they can use their sneak attack in combination with their spells. And then at level 13, they can vanish after they cast a spell. At level 17, they don't need verbal or semantic spell components at all, can stay invisible after spell casting, and can make stronger illusions. Okay, now, final stretch. These next two should be obvious if you have the Xanathar's Guide. Okay, Divine Soul Sorcerer. At level 1, they get access to clerical spells, can give themselves a boost on attack rolls or saves. At level 6, their Sorcerer points can let them boost their healing. 14, they can grow wings, and at 18, they can recover health once a day. Celestial Patron Warlock. They make a deal with something like a unicorn or an angel. They get the Light and Sacred Flame cantrips at level 1, and get the power to heal. At level 6, they can channel the power of light to resist radiant damage and burn their foes. And at each rest, their allies gain temporary HP. Then at 14, they can spring forth from the cusp of death to smite the wicked. Last but not least is the UA Theurgist tradition. They choose a clerical domain to get power from. Light and knowledge are recommended, but any domain is fine. They can record spells in their book from this chosen domain, and they get Channel Divinity or Channel Arcana to boost their spells. Then at level 6, 10, and 17, they get access to the actual domain benefits. Imagine pairing this with the Arcana domain for Cleric. Oh, maybe I could have done that for the Cleric slot. Nah, I like my gag from earlier. Well, there you go. 12 religious subclasses to play with. Tell me what you think down in the comments. If you want to see something similar, I have a video for 8 subclasses on the Monk. And I hope that you'll turn in tomorrow for a top 10 list on my favorite Cleric subclasses. Till then, have a great day, and God bless.